In January of 2020, the Security and Exchange Commission's Office of Compliance Inspections and Examinations, the OCIE, released examination observations related to cybersecurity and operational resiliency practices taken by market participants. At Axonius, we've released an industry response paper that looks at the role of asset management related to the report, and in this short video, we'll use the Axonius Cybersecurity Asset Management Platform to show examples of how financial firms can benefit from automating much of the manual work discussed in the report. The OCIE report provides observations to assist market participants to enhance their cybersecurity preparedness and operational efficiency, and it does it in 7 categories. So this is the Axonius Cybersecurity Asset Management Platform, and the idea is very simple. Axonius integrates with nearly 200 security and management solutions to give customers a comprehensive, credible asset inventory, uncover security solution coverage gaps, and then automatically validate and enforce security policies. The report begins with the idea that effective cybersecurity programs start with a right tone at the top and cites a commitment to improving financial organizations' cyber posture to understand, prioritize, and mitigate cyber risk. And the following areas are called out, each having relevance to asset management. Risk assessment, developing processes to identify, manage, and mitigate risks. Policies and procedures, implementing comprehensive policies to address identified risk. Testing and monitoring, ongoing validation of these policies. Continuous evaluation and adapting to changes, and then finally communication, providing timely information to decision makers. Understanding the full scope of devices, cloud instances, users, and the solutions that manage and secure them is the first step necessary before any risk assessment or vulnerability prioritization can begin. And Axonius gives customers a full asset inventory and then maps assets to their adherence to security policies, providing continuous monitoring and validation. This lets security teams know anytime an asset does not match policies and gives customers custom automation actions for remediation. In a perpetually changing environment, governance and risk must be ongoing and can't rely solely on quarterly audits. The SEC report calls out the following items in the access rights and controls section. User access, understanding each user's permissions, including things like AD groups, password policies, and whether accounts are properly protected. Access management, understanding the intersection between users, directory services, and the systems they require access to. And access monitoring, making sure that all changes are properly implemented and investigated. In the scope of cybersecurity asset management, accounts and users are key entities in any organization's information security program. The intersection of users, devices, cloud instances, and the security solutions and policies that govern them determine the scope of policy adherence. In the data loss prevention category, the report includes a section on the tools and processes financial organizations use to ensure that sensitive data is not lost, misused, or accessed by unauthorized users. That includes vulnerability scanning to understand which devices and cloud instances are not being scanned. Perimeter security, ensuring the proper scope and coverage of tools that monitor and inspect network traffic. Detective security, making sure that the right tools are in place to protect endpoints. Patch management, knowing what is installed on every machine, what known vulnerabilities are present, and when updates are available. Inventory of hardware and software, identifying critical assets and information, knowing where they're located and how they're protected. Encryption and network segmentation, using tools to secure data in motion and at rest, and implementing network segmentation. Insider threat monitoring, understanding suspicious behaviors and taking corrective behavior and action. This can only happen when financial firms can confidently map users, accounts, and devices. And then finally, securing legacy systems and equipment, verifying the decommissioning and disposal of hardware and software. From validating VA scanners to prioritizing patch management and enforcement of network segmentation, automated policy validation and enforcement is a critical check on DLP. Next is mobile security, and the report calls out the unique vulnerabilities and risks that come with mobile devices and apps. As more mobile devices and mobile device types enter financial firms, having a credible inventory and understanding security solution coverage is necessary, and the report specifically notes policies and procedures, establishing policies and procedures for the use of mobile devices, managing those mobile devices, using an MDM solution and ensuring comprehensive coverage, implementing security measures like MFA, and controls to remove sensitive data for departing employees, and then finally training employees. Only when financial firms can inventory all devices, understand coverage gaps, and address policy adherence, automatically can they confidently address this key requirement. Next is incident response and resiliency, and the report defines incident response as the timely detection and appropriate disclosure of material information about incidents and assessing corrective actions in response. The following elements are suggested. So first, development of a plan, so creating the plan for notification and response, addressing applicable reporting requirements, so complying with reporting requirements for incidents or events, assigning staff to execute specific areas of the plan, so designated roles and responsibilities to take action when these incidents happen, testing and assessing the plan, so putting the plan in action to understand response time and identifying potential gaps, maintaining an inventory of core business operations and systems, so identifying and prioritizing core services and systems to improve resiliency, assessing risk and prioritizing business operations, understanding the risk tolerance and testing service delivery in the event of disruption, and then finally considering additional safeguards, so maintaining backups and evaluating things like cybersecurity insurance. Incident response is all about context. In the event of an incident, security teams at financial firms must know which assets were involved, which accounts had access, and whether the expected security controls and tools were properly deployed. Cybersecurity asset management provides all the information needed to supply the context needed in incident response. Next is vendor management, and the report includes this as it relates to due diligence for vendor selection, monitoring vendors, assessing their risk, and understanding how vendors protect client information in categories like vendor management program, so establishing the vendor management program to make sure that vendors meet security requirements and standards, understanding vendor relationships, so understanding the contract terms, responsibility, how risk is addressed, and vendor monitoring and testing. So testing and monitoring the vendor relationship to ensure that the vendor continues to meet those security requirements. So in an asset management context, vendor management includes ensuring that updates are applied to vendor solutions, making sure that purchase solutions are properly deployed, and that those tools that were purchased meet the overall security policy requirements. Finally, the report concludes with training and awareness, and it includes suggestions around things like policies and procedures as a training guide, so training staff to implement the firm's cybersecurity policies and procedures to build a culture of cybersecurity readiness, including examples and exercises and training, so providing specific and explicit examples of things like phishing, training effectiveness, and making sure that the training is effective and altering it if it's not. Understanding what users are in the environment, their access rights, and their behavior, provide an active ongoing check of whether training programs have impacted how users adopt basic and proper cybersecurity concepts. To read the full text of our industry response paper on the SEC report, and to get a custom demo to see what financial firms are able to do with a credible asset inventory, and understanding of security solution coverage gaps, and automated security policy enforcement, visit Axonius.com, and thank you.